Everybody, welcome to another episode of the Coffee Break Podcast. You are joined today by your host, Jama, my co-host,
Mukhtar?
Slim.
and today we have an incredible guest. And alhamdulillah, we were able to make this work in the span of under 24 hours.
This guy is Jordan buzzer beater, bro. Real talk.
Yo, the fact that he told me, I'm only here for 3 more days.
Yeah.
That's tough, man.
And if we can make this work, we can make this work. Qadr of Allah. If this happens, it happens.
Alhamdulillah.
But I just want to let you know, this is how long I'm here for.
Said,
All right,
count
brother,
me in, man.
Are
Yeah,
you
that's
here
a
in
good
13 hours? He was like, yo, I'm here.
Oh, man.
So I want to introduce our guest, Luis Merto.
I appreciate y'all, man. Thank y'all for the warm welcome, man.
Thanks for
Definitely,
coming.
man. I want to make it happen, bro. I want to make it happen.
Definitely.
100%. Like, me and Slim over here, we went to the Cousin Connection podcast, the live show, right? And we didn't even know of you at the time, and I'm sure you didn't know of us. But remember when we saw you on stage and you were talking about the things that you were talking about? Me and Slim, we looked at each other like, yo, we need this guy on the pod. We were like, yo.
You know what's crazy? Me and him both like synchronized our look together. We're like, yo, you know?
We need him. And it was like, this is the perfect person that could be on our show and give our audience a message that they typically do not see, you know?
Definitely.
And it was like we're on everything. We're so excited to have you here. And right now, I do want to give you this opportunity to introduce yourself.
Okay, no, I appreciate that, man. My name is Adil, from Atlanta, ATL. During the pandemic, we started what I call a community project. I didn't even call it a podcast, bro. I just literally, like, everybody had some free time. Everybody was like, yo, how can we utilize our time to do something that was impactful, something that was meaningful, something that was, worth their time, really? So we kind of said, look, we realized growing up in the community, like, our community has a lot of problems, and nobody's really I don't know how it is for other people, but in my community, when there's a problem, people act like it doesn't exist. It's like sweep it under the rug.
Yeah.
You know what I mean? So we see so many things going on, but it's just like people are scared to address it. They don't really call it out, man. I just kind of like the nucleus of our, like, how we are. You know what I mean? I don't know why. I never agree with it. I never liked it. You know what I'm saying? So the young generation, like, you know what I mean, kind of like we said, look, man, one thing we learned growing up in America and is effective communication. You know what I mean? So, like, I see our people really struggle with communication. We struggle with, like, yo, come on, like, everybody sees what's going on and nobody's talking about it. So we just took it as like a little project. Like, look, we see a lot of things and we just want to give our 2 cents, man. You know what I mean? It's tough, bro. Like, growing up as a country, when we have parents that's kind of like not part of the you know what I mean, they don't understand the culture, but we were so immersed into it, like, you know what I mean, we know everything about it. We were raised in it, so
Right.
disconnect on so many levels, bro. So we just trying to figure out, like, okay, how can we all come together, exist, and help each other out, right? Like, there's some things that the parents understood that we didn't get, you know what I mean? Some things that we understood that they didn't get. There's some things that older people get. Like, I mean, like, it's just like trying to connect dots here and there. So from that, Luis Merto, the podcast was kind of, took form and took shape. And I know a lot of people ask about what is Luis Merto, what does that mean? And I know, like, for us, Merto is kind of similar to, like, other cultures. I think you call them Malawis. Ma'awis. Well, you have the dads, they're just hanging out. Typically might have a wife beater on, right? And lounging around, bro. Just they had that cloth that they wrap around.
Yeah.
You know what I mean? That's very essential to the culture. You know, anybody who's seen parents, immigrant parents, like, that's representative of who you are, where you come from. That's your culture. Us, we never was really passed down that culture, like, like, we never had that right, what's up, that path, right away passage,
Rite of passing.
right of passage. Yeah, so we never really had that. So we don't know how to tie it properly. We don't know the meaning of certain things, why they do this, what it represents. There's so many decorations in the house, we don't know what it means. So ours is always loose.
Yeah.
So that's how we became Luis Merto, like a generation of kids who kind of like don't know their identity, don't know the culture, don't know like a lot of things, the practices. You know what I mean? So it's like, we wanted to be like somebody who's like, okay, know who you are, know where you come from, and know your, just know what makes you, you know what I mean? So.
Right on, man.
Yeah, so the topics early on really just address the community, like, as far as, like, things that we saw, things that we want to touch on. It was just a fun project, man. Like, it was just good vibes, good energy, and we were just talking about authentic stuff, bro. You know what I mean? That was what drove us in the first place. You know what I mean?
Dope.
I just learned how to tie that Maui.
Man, yeah.
A couple months ago.
Real talk, bro.
I don't know how many times I be in a house and it just falls down. I gotta wear boxes under mine, right? Like, you know what I mean? Because I ain't gonna lie.
Can't do that,
Public indecency might be the cause.
No, man. We can't be getting that ticket, bro. No way.
So my joint just be fall. I be praying. I be embarrassed. I be standing up to pray and like it just falls. I'm like, oh, yo, my bad.
He just be looking like a shot.
Yeah,
in front of God.
I'm saying,
no.
God know my intentions, man.
Oh.
But, it just shows like we gotta tighten up.
We got it. My cousin came back from back home. He told me the triple fold at the front.
The
then
triple
fold.
fold. That's see,
I don't know how y'all do it, but I just literally like put my hand here over there. Go. I don't know, man. Like it's still not even. Yeah, I don't know, man. But it's just this is crazy, bro.
Luckily, when I was in Somalia, when I was 11, they taught me how to properly do it over there. So
that's what I'm
literally
saying. We never
like
had
that.
that. Yeah, we
Literally.
never had that. Yeah, we never had that. Like, you know what I mean? That exchange. One thing I get so sad about is like as the older generation passes, they're taking so much history with them, so much knowledge. They're seeing so much in life, like, bro, like that's gone with them, and we like will never be able to have that piece of history or information to pass on to our kids.
Yeah.
And like we're slowly losing that, bro. You know what I mean? So that's just, and I know like in Somalia, man, we talked about this a little briefly, but the styles is wicked, bro. They got some nice styles.
Yeah, they got the
style of the box.
Yep.
Bro, it got like star patterns. I don't know,
Real
man.
talk,
It's,
man.
like it's pretty fly. I ain't gonna lie.
I know everybody's pops has that one Maoist that he's just the
Yeah.
golden one, like it has that one design on it that he always rocking it,
100%. I'm trying to pass it down because my pops had it. I'm gonna pass it down to me. He's gonna pass. Like I want it to be like a cycle of so much having that.
Our joints are really plain. They're like I mentioned, they're like lines and plaid.
Yeah, yeah.
Mhm.
That ours look like what the Scottish people wear, like the
Yeah,
kilts.
yeah,
Yeah, like ours is really simple, plain, but they're crisp though. You see them really crisp and
Mhm.
clean though, but they're really like on the plainer side, man.
That's dope, man. And
That's-
and I wanted to say too, sorry to cut you off, bro.
Yeah.
Like it's actually so amazing because like Warsami was saying earlier, like we had no like knowledge of you before going to the Cousins podcast live show, and just seeing you get on stage and talking about like the namesake of Luz Merto and how that kind of defines you or like our generation of like the immigrants' children who came to this country, right? Like, and how that kind of defines you as like a child of an immigrant family who doesn't really fully understand their identity. Like it hits so close to home for us, and we literally just met you that day, so it's like the outreach that you can provide, right? Or like the connection you can have with people just off of like cultural stories like that, or like just cultural meaningful things to people from our part of the world. It hits so home, man. Like it really does. Like, 'cause you're from Atlanta, we're from Toronto, right? But we still have this shared connection, with that analogy. And it's so interesting how that kind of like hits home for me, because like you said, like we weren't passed down these things, there's so much history that's just getting kind of wiped away with the older generation, right? So it's like, it's kind of like we almost have a sense of responsibility to us to understand ourselves a little bit more, where we're from, like what our parents went through, like for us being Somalians, we have a whole history of like our country before Civil War that, it's kind of like lost in translation a little bit, So it's really great to see someone who wants to know the history of like where they're from, their identity, and like who they are as a person, So it's really refreshing, man. I just want to give you your ratings for that, man. Like, and honestly, bro, like I also wanted to tap into like, and this is going to be kind of one of our topics as well, but the importance of culture to you, like what culture means to you, why you think it's significant to people to understand their culture and their background and who they are and where they come from, and you're doing a great job of trying to understand your history too. I would like to definitely tap into our history, our Somalian roots as well, but like talk about the importance of culture to you, being from America, like you born and raised in America, I'm assuming, right?
Yeah.
But family is from Ethiopia, so it's like there is that divide between the generations. So what does understanding your culture mean to you?
It means everything, bro. It means like my existence, bro. Like it literally means everything, bro. Like I think that we got to remember our parents brought us to these countries and these lands, and we are representation of where they came from, who they are, what they represent. You know what I mean? You got to show the world, like, you're not just an American, you're not just a Canadian. You are like you represent your ancestors. You represent your history. Like when I learned like how rich our history, and I know other cultures have rich history, like it's so important to understand and tap into that because like we come from a very small village and we're dying. We're like the last of a dying breed, bro. For us at least. We come like we make 1% of Ethiopia. And they said it was a city it was called the City of Saints. Like there was so much
Wow.
like, you know what I mean? It was so cut off from everything. Small village. All they did was just literally like pray, read Quran. Like they were just excluded from a lot of things, bro. City of Hunters, like, and it's important to me because people don't even know what it is, like, or anything about it. So I always want to take the chance to represent it. And that's why we specifically named it something that's exclusive to that culture because it puts it on the map in a way. I don't want to fall into the lines of like nationalism and tribal. Like
Right.
that's not what my idea, but it's just kind of self-identity. That's more what I want it to be about, man. Just like knowing the history and what you represent. I can't say it any other way more than that. It's just represent who you are. You know what I mean? And it's hard. It's easy to get lost in this sauce, man. It's easy to get lost in this world, man. But it's like you're so much more than that, bro. You know what I mean? You represent something very powerful, man.
100%. And to your point, I want to play like for us, for Somalis, you know, when we talk about tribalism, it typically is not something that comes from a good place.
Yeah.
Because whenever we talk about all our tribes, it's a way to divide us.
Yeah.
You know, and I feel like
slippery slope, right?
yeah.
Really is.
So
bro.
don't get me wrong. When it comes to us, like I'll give you my personal example. When my parents came here, they came here wanting a better future for me and my sisters, right?
Yeah.
And alhamdulillah, that's what they were able to provide. My father worked some outstanding hours in order to put food on the table, 3-4 jobs at a time. And, you know, he didn't have the opportunity to always be at home with us in order to pass on this culture. You know what I mean? So a lot of the stuff that I had to learn by myself, you know? And a lot of this naturally happens because when you're out in when you're out in Canada, just going by your ways, it's very easy to get lost in whatever culture that's already existing here, right?
And there's not even no
You know?
culture in there, bro. Like this,
Exactly.
where I come from, America, there is no American culture, bro. It's just like, you know what I mean? That's what the part that makes me sad. Like we're throwing away what we have to represent nothing, bro. Like I'm sorry, bro. Like sorry, I didn't mean to cut you off. I just want to throw that part in there. Like there is no, I don't think there's a Canadian culture. I don't know if I'm wrong about that.
Canadian culture is like a blend of all cultures combined.
Yeah,
you know,
they and that part sickens me the most. It's like they want to take away everybody's uniqueness and just throw them into one
group.
Yeah, like one melting pot supposedly. But I was just like, no, man, that's not. I don't know, bro. That part rubbed me the wrong way, bro. You know what I mean?
100%.
1000%, man.
Yeah.
And as an American, do you find like there's like a divide between like the Black community and like just the American community in a sense, you know, like, because I feel like there's a sense of pride from being American that generally Americans feel. Not all, obviously, but most Americans feel like this sense of pride of being American, like the land of the free and whatnot, right? But do you think that there's like a disconnect between the Black community specifically in America and like the rest of America? And speak on that a little bit if you can.
Yeah, I think there's a divide with everybody in America, bro. There's a
yeah.
Black within Black, like between being African American and being African. Like literally, America is made on division, bro. Like, you know what I mean? It's like you always kind of like see the differences of people and never see the similarities, and that's something that I think it's so important to focus on similarities of everybody. Like we have so much more in common than I know you heard that before, but it's true. We have more in common than that what divides us. So this whole thing with like the division and stuff like that, it's like I don't know how to get past that, to be honest with you, but it is like it's just something that we're just kind of aware of. We just kind of grew up with and knowing. And I know like early on as growing up in America, you go through like the whole whatever happened in the early the 90s, 2001, whatever, like you're ashamed of who you are, your identity. Now, fast forward 20 years later, people are like take almost like pride in being like who you are, like dressing the way you are, like having a beard, having like, bro, I wear my thobe out in public, like I wear my myrto out in public. Like, I mean, now it's like a time where it's like, yo, you're very comfortable in who you are, and it's cool to be different. It's cool to be foreign. It's cool to be, you know, different. You know what I mean? Like it wasn't the case. You know what I mean? So I think we got to take this opportunity to celebrate that. You know what I mean? And just, you know what I mean? Do the work, do the homework, bro. You know what I mean?
think that's the rise of social media? Because now you can see other people just like you that have that pride, have that like culture now. Culture, I think American culture is still developing because Black culture is meant to hip hop and things like that. And people try to blanket over whatever else they come from.
Yeah.
You know? But now social media, you have Somali group chats and how you can discuss different topics with Somalis. Ethiopians have the same online. You think that's where it comes from, the pride now?
That's a really good question. I ain't gonna lie, that's a really good question because it was when we were growing up and there was they control the narrative. Yeah. They tell you look like this and you're a good citizen. If you look like this or sound like this, then you know what I mean. We're gonna, you know what I mean. Yeah. So
have some problems.
But as the internet, first of all, as the world happened and all these things happen overseas, and people start to like really question the American philosophy, the Western agenda, interests, and all that stuff, and then you also see other cultures around the world. People start traveling more. People see IG posts, and social media posts, Twitter, TikToks, and other cultures, and start like, yo, this is like the world is so much bigger, like so much unique. Like, I think people start celebrating different cultures and identities. Like, yo, everybody have to be my way. I mean, like you could like there's so many different ways of forms of life, and people. I don't know when the shift happened. The internet definitely had a big play in that. I didn't even think about it until you actually asked that question.
That's
but like,
great observation. I'm not gonna lie, it's dope.
I 100 thank you for bringing it up, Mukhtar. I to that point, I think a lot of people in the past were in their own echo chambers.
Yeah.
Where all they knew was a group of people who thought with the same logic and the same thought process, right? And with the exposure of social media, we're able to get an algorithm of different stuff from every part of the world, you know? So now like, for example, that's why my love for Japan came from social media and the internet. Imagine the internet didn't exist.
Yeah, you wouldn't know nothing about Japan.
I wouldn't have any of this inkling to be a part of that culture. You know what I mean?
Yeah.
And that comes from representing people just representing the culture. From my understanding, like people from Japan just represent the culture. You see their way of life. And that's why I feel like it's so important to have these kind of conversations and have these kind of outlets where you represent your people and let them know like Earth is so big and we were made different so we can get to know each other. Not you know what I mean, not to have that divide and that I'm better than you. That arrogance came from the devil. From you know what I mean, like that's literally what gets you kicked out of heaven, bro. You know, I don't want to get like too preachy, man, but like it's just so we can know each other, celebrate each other, you know what I mean, and just kind of find the beautiful like different cultures and like experience that, you know what I mean. So that's like, you know what I mean, that's the goal moving forward, man. I want my kids to know who they are. They're not American, bro. They're Ethiopian first. They're Muslim first, if anything.
Before everything, yep.
100%. But like, just know you come from a rich area. You come from, you know what I mean, just a beautiful, beautiful, you know what I mean, God put you in this place for a reason, you know what I mean? Don't be arrogant, don't be prideful about it. Don't think you're better than anybody because no, it's just, that's where you are and you represent it to the best of your ability. That's that's what I kind of advocate for. Represent it to the best of your, make your ancestors proud of, you know, the legacy that they left, you know what I mean?
That's dope, man.
For sure.
Are you a glass half full type of person?
Yeah, man. You could say that for sure.
That's
man.
dope, man.
I am whatever.
You're an optimist.
Whatever. Yeah, I'm not optimistic of myself, but I'm optimistic in what God can do. You know what I mean?
Facts.
So the cup is whatever God wants that cup to be. That's how I look at life.
Facts.
You know what I mean?
Facts. No, that's great, man. That's such a refreshing. Like you have like this like almost like care for unity, right? In terms of like human beings, people, cultures, we should all unite in a sense, you know, to understand more, to just get some more nuance out of life and the human experience. Yeah. And I think that way of thinking, honestly, is so powerful, man. Like you have so much influence that you don't even realize when you have this form of thinking, to be honest with you. And it's going to take you so far, man, inshallah. Like I'm so really, really, really impressed of how your thinking is, you know, in terms of like culture, identity, and people, and just the human beings, or like the human experience itself is all built off of connection with one another, you know. So it's to understand that.
I don't think it's like even like something unique. I just think it was how it was. I'm just trying to bring, you know what I mean? Like
bring it back to where it
exactly.
was.
Like, I feel like people used to think like this all the time. I think somewhere along the line, people just kind of forgot. Like, I mean, like I'm just trying to bring it back to how it was, opposed to how it is now, you know what I mean? That's just, you know what I mean?
That's dope, man. A lot of people will probably tell you have an old soul.
Yeah. That's probably a good way. That's
what they'll hit you with, right?
I could have built the pyramids.
Yep.
No, I'm kidding, man.
100%.
That's dope, man. That's dope. And to kind of segue into our next kind of topic, we had a really great topic or episode once back when we discussed, the panel question was, is money the root of all evil? You know? Essentially, it's a conversation about wealth and greed, you know, and where the line is, and you know how people kind of deteriorate their wealth for greed purposes. But the question lies as, is money the root of all evil? You know, so to kind of just bring it to the panel here, I want to hear your guys' opinions again. You know, we're about a little bit more than a year removed from that conversation, and a lot has happened since then, right? So, do you guys think that money is the root of all evil?
I want to start off by saying I feel like my standpoint a year ago was right, and I'm gonna stand on that today.
You're standing on business.
I'm standing on that today.
Standing on business.
I do think money is the thing that facilitates all badness. You know what I mean? Like when it comes to, I feel like at a certain point, wealth just changes somebody. You know what I mean?
Yeah.
So what I mean by that exactly is to get to a certain level, you have to leave a little bit of your humanity behind. You know what I mean? So we can use the references of all the major CEOs in the world, like the Elon Musks, the Jeff Bezos, the Mark Zuckerberg, you know, even Donald Trump, in my opinion. Like a lot of these people, to get to where they were getting, they had to, like, metaphorically climb a body of people in order to stand at the top, you know? And the reason why I always assume money, because people see money as more valuable than life itself, you know? So I still believe that to this day. And if anything, now I believe it more because of the situation that's happening overseas. You know what I mean? Because the reason why these people feel so comfortable doing what they're doing, because they're backed by all the money. You know, if this entity didn't have the money that they have, would they feel comfortable doing as such? Or would they feel comfortable doing all of this without the backing of the strongest superpower in the world? You know? But because they have all of this, they have everything they need in order to publicly do a genocide and not have a care in the world. You know what I mean?
I'll take it a step further. You're saying because they have the backing of money. Not only that, they have the promise of more money to come.
100%.
You know what I mean? That's why it's easy to make decisions that just have no regard for human life. People don't care. Like, I mean, the money that could be made for doing what they're doing, that's always follow the money. Like, whenever there's something going on in the world, you don't understand why this is happening, follow the money, and it'll paint a picture that makes sense, bro. Like, they stand to make so much money from doing this, where if you some people have to die in the process, you know, group small people in a area nobody even knows about or even hears about. That's just, you know, collateral damage. But, you know, the bigger goal, the interest is securing these deals. There's so many railways, and I forgot what they're called, corridors that they're trying to build that would transport goods across the whole Middle East, the whole Asian area, that like literally defines why there's wars in those areas happening right now. Like the business deals are taking place that requires these things to happen so they can make room for bigger business deals to happen. You know what I mean? It's so sad. It's so sick, bro. It's so sick, man.
No, it's actually insane. And we had this conversation like before kind of the Israel-Palestine conflict took the world stage, right? So it was more so in the sense, or in the thinking of like, how does somebody become wealthy, you know? Like, do you have to do unethical things to become wealthy? You know, like that's kind of the question that was posed, right? So in that sense, yes, you know, money is the root of all evil, because like you're saying, you know, like money to some people is more valuable than human life, right? And once you get to that way of thinking, to me, you're too far gone. You know, like you're chasing paper, literally just paper, you know, at the end of the day. Obviously, it has like a significant value in terms of society. But at the end of the day, like there's nothing more precious than a human life. 100%. And, you know, and subconsciously, we all know that, right? We all have, you know, we all have life in us, you know? So it's like, if one day one of us doesn't wake up the next morning and we're dead, that's it for us. You know what I mean? Like that's where your story ends, right? And nobody wants to go through that. We all kind of in some weird way fear death, or fear our death day. So to kind of disregard human life for monetary gain is like this weird. There's this weird psychological.
At this point,
it is.
Like,
it is
accepted that as long as you bring me a couple of $1 million, I don't care what you do.
You can do whatever you want. Yeah, you can do whatever you want.
Even to the degree, like a lot of the major companies that we support, like Nike, you know, they probably have sweatshops in the middle of nowhere with the paying X amount of people a couple 30 cents of dollars an hour, you know?
Right.
And a lot of people just see that as it is what it is, as long as I get my shoes at the end of the day.
Right.
You know, to a degree, it's been accepted by society that as long as I get what I need, I don't care the result of how it happened.
Right.
You know?
Right.
I'm not gonna lie, we in a way we are kind of fault to this because we support these organizations. We consume it. We allow it to happen. We enable them to do so.
Right.
No, ask no question. I mean, look at your cell phones and like how they
Exactly,
get
like the
come
stuff that
from
happened in
Congo.
Congo.
Yeah, I mean, like, and nobody asks questions, bro. I mean, diamonds, blood diamonds, that's been coming up for all these times.
Mm-hmm.
It doesn't make sense that Israel is one of the biggest suppliers of diamonds, and they have no. It's not one of their natural resources. They have no diamonds in there. You know what I mean? So it's like, but they're the biggest exporter of diamonds in the world.
Yeah,
right.
I mean, nobody asks questions, bro. Like, you know what I mean? All these deals that happen, money's involved. You invite these big tech companies, but I know there's a price on the end that nobody asks about. But like, it's a lot of dirty work that goes behind it, man. It's sick, bro. It's so sick, man.
And we're in a weird timeline right now too, where it's like people are thriving off of negativity specifically, you know, and for monetary gain, you know, like somebody will, like even just what's trending on social media, for example, right? It's just negative shit all the time. People are just getting into conflict issues, and people are viewing that in like in a weird, sick, positive way, you know. And it's like they're gravitating towards negativity for their own entertainment purposes, you know, and disregarding whatever feelings or, you know, repercussions that are happening to whoever they're reacting to. And it's getting kind of weird. And also, like, we were just discussing of how social media kind of connected us as a human race, you know, in terms of culture and identity, right? But it's also kind of dividing us too, in a sense where people are using social media as like a tool or leverage for them to gain monetary gain, and they're using unethical tactics to kind of prosper, you know, and gain further. And that's kind of a backwards way of kind of going about it, because, you know, the human experience, honestly, to me, in my opinion, should just be about, you know, mindfulness, being present, you know, enjoying every minute of the fact that you're alive and here, you know, health, family, love and care. Like, there's so much aspects to life that don't involve money that people should be focused on, that I feel like are getting lost in translation now, you know, because you just see so many people just becoming wealthy, and it's just much more in your face that you almost feel like you're missing out, you know. And some people kind of get sucked into that, you know, way of thinking where they're like, okay, I'm so far behind, I'm not rich, I don't have all this, but they don't realize what it takes to get there sometimes, you know, and how you have to be and how you have to think. And I'm looking at it from a business owner's perspective too, right? Because I own a clothing business myself, and I, from time to time, think of my like tactics that I need to take to prosper my business, you know, and I have to question myself: is this an ethical thing that I have an unethical thing that I have to do to achieve more, or is there a ethical practice or more of a positive way of me achieving what I want without having to, you know, do anything negative or, you know, basically just do anything immoral that goes against my morals or beliefs, you know? So it's a weird time we're in right now, where people are kind of challenged to either be a positive person in society and do well for yourself, or to seek more by causing more of a ruckus, you know, in a sense. Or chaos is pretty much what's thriving today, you know, in a sense. And I feel like that's kind of odd, right? Because even when we were younger, like let's say even 5-10 years ago, this wasn't the case. You know, people were just going about what they do, and if you're talented or if you're successful in some kind of way, you will be found. But now it's more so like it's different, where people are trying to find a way to achieve more and not care the road they have to take to get there, you know. And that's becoming more of a constant thing, and I find that so odd. And it ties into the conversation we're having now, wealth and greed, right? It stems from greed, in my opinion. You know, people that want more than they deserve or want more than they should have, and I don't care how they are going to get it, you know.
A lot, we touch about this a lot. It's a lot of it is social media, you know. Like when I see X, Y, and Z have X, Y, and Z, I typically want that for myself. And the means to go about that is like, I don't care as long as the end result is I have X, Y, and Z. You know? So to your point, like I want to touch on what you said earlier. You since you're a business owner, you could probably save so much time going the unethical route, you know, like just going that route, getting what needs to be done, and then you'd probably be so much farther along in the progress of your company. But because you're taking a route here to avoid this thing over here, you know, you are taking precautions in order to make sure that at the end of the day, you can actually sleep and know that I'm not destroying my humanity for something that possibly wouldn't help me in the akhirah, you know? Because at the end of the day, everything we're doing right now, if you zoom out for 1 second, this dunya is not really important, you know?
Right.
Like we're doing everything to build our wealth in the hereafter.
Right.
And for you to, even if you were to become successful, even if you were to become the next Jeff Bezos, you know what I mean? Or whatever.
How you say his name?
I don't care, bro. You know who I'm talking about. You know what billionaire I'm
Bezos.
talking about.
JB?
You know what billionaire I'm talking about.
JB, huh?
At the end of the day, you know, regardless of if you were to become him,
Right.
you wouldn't know what the consequences of your actions would be when you're being judged on Judgment Day, you know?
And I think that's the perfect, and you tapped on it perfectly right now. I think that's the perfect safety net for people like us, where we have the comfort or the mindset of I'm being watched or I'm being judged and I'm a Muslim and I have to be a good Muslim, you know, as holding us back from doing wrong. Obviously, no Muslim is perfect. We're all sinners, right? But at the end of the day, we still have the safety net of I have this guilt in my mind where if I know I'm going to take this step, it's going to push me back 2 steps in terms of like the akhirah, right?
Yeah.
So we have that safety net in our minds where we can at least be conscious of the fact that we're being judged for our actions, you know? A lot of people don't have that, you know? And to some degree, I honestly do feel like it's a conscience, just having a conscience, right? But it is also still your environment, how you were raised, you know, what you were taught, and it all ties back to how you are as a person, you know what I mean?
Could you live with yourself?
Exactly.
Can I look myself in the mirror at the end of the day and be like, am I proud of myself?
Mm-hmm.
You know, like even if I was to generate all this wealth, and let's say I have generational wealth, and let's say I have kids, you know, do I want my kids to inherit this blood money?
Exactly. That's another
Does that make sense to you?
Right.
I rather on everything, and I know we talk about this all the time, I rather leave this platform or this world with nothing and have the greatest of hearts than to leave with everything and be such a terrible person. You know what I mean? Like I rather be a good human and have nothing than be a terrible person and have everything. You know what I mean?
Yeah.
So to that point, it's like money is the issue that we're all facing because everybody doesn't care at this point how they go about it. You know, like I'll do like the OnlyFans route. If you're a woman of that route, I'll do the X, Y, and Z. I'll do it. Anything like they will be willing to throw their dignity away for an extra dollar as long as it comes in. You know what I mean? And I don't know if you guys agree, but I just think like we're going down this path where the value of life is not as treasured as it used to be.
Facts.
You know?
Facts.
And depending on where you are in the world, the value of life is different. Like my Canadian life is worth more than other parts of the world, like life in Palestine. You know what I mean? Even though I don't agree, I think life was made all equal, and no matter where you are in the world, it doesn't dictate how much you're worth. You know what I mean? So that's just my point.
Very well said.
I have an opinion on this though, but what you just said about leaving this world a certain way made me think. You guys seen Denzel? Denzel now became a minister.
No.
I did not know that.
That's apparently right now he's been talking about, oh, I'm on my last couple movies and I'm gonna retire.
Yeah.
But now apparently he like got baptized and became a minister. He took his license and things like that.
That's cool.
And
He turned down a lot of roles though.
Huh?
He turned down a lot of like movie roles that were kind of like dodgy for him, you know what I mean?
What type of movie roles?
Nah, just kind of he turned out like some big deals. Like I can't really do this. Yeah.
No, but that's my like. Do you guys think that's what Denzel and certain people are doing? We're thinking about. I did all this stuff in my 70 years on this earth. Let me try. This is probably his route. Let me try to make peace with the world before I potentially leave it.
I don't know if that's the reason for him per se, because I feel like for Denzel, he's already reached the pinnacle of what he needed to do. I think he's just a bored guy, and he's going a different route to see.
Why would you go to ministry though?
Maybe you're right.
But I would say on Denzel, that's an interesting case because Denzel, I feel like he's one of the few people that I don't know for sure, but I don't think he sold his soul to get where he's at. Yeah. I think he reached one of the highest, but and I could be wrong. Maybe he's a really good actor, but just hearing his interviews, the way he carries himself, the way he talks, and his messaging. Like I've always seen him as a real person. You know what I mean? Some people when you hear them talk, it's like, yo, this guy just sold everything to be where he's at. I never got that feeling from Denzel personally. So that's interesting. That's interesting. Like he's one of very few I could see that being the case. You know what I mean?
That's dope.
At the same, there's some people at the same time like Eddie Murphy right now. He apparently doesn't like Raw, like his stand-up special from the 80s because of the gay slurs that he was using in the movie. This is not the same thing. Jay-Z and Nas, they don't like listening to Ether and what was it? Takeover.
Yeah.
Because of the relationship they have right now. It's probably the image he was helping push. And certain, this is my opinion. I don't know if that's the case. Probably some of the images he's trying to push in certain movies. He's probably trying to step away, say, "Look at my image now,
Could be.
and this is what I'm representing now."
Image is everything right now too. Like so many things they did back then, they just couldn't do right now. That could be a publicity stunt. It could be a thing where just like, hey, I'm trying to stay fake. It could be ain't no telling, bro. Really ain't no telling, bro. Unless you was in his shoes or ask him personally, bro. You know what I mean?
Yeah, man. And even on like, and to kind of wrap up this conversation shortly, even on like a more microscopic level, like just the shift in like even just the youth, you know, I've noticed that kids are maturing a little bit faster nowadays, you know? Not
so?
Yeah, man. Again, like, yo, I've seen high school kids wearing designer clothes and shit like that. Like,
they got the money for
how? When I was in high school, bro, I just wanted a pair of Nikes, you know, and that was like, how dare you ask
they
me
know
for that?
Too much, too fast.
That's what I'm saying, you know. So it's kind of even on a microscopic level now. There's been such a rapid shift of like wants and desires, and
second generation parents though. Their parents are probably in their 30s.
That is a good point too. Because we're from the generation of our parents are immigrants. They came to this country, but you know, the next generation after us, their parents were born here, even though they were raised by immigrant parents, but they kind of understand the nuance of the country. That's a great point. I'm not gonna lie. Like our children or the generation after us will have a completely different way of thinking because their parents were raised here.
Their parents had phones in probably college, or their social media was probably the tail end of them getting into the world and starting jobs and things like that.
That's interesting, man. I never even thought of it.
They probably established better paying jobs by the time they was able to have
exactly.
Kids, It could be. It's a lot of factors that go into it too.
That's a ninth grader right now. It's 2010. A ninth grade in 2014.
Yeah,
it's 2010 they were born. Imagine that.
Damn.
Yo, don't age me, bro. I graduated 2014.
Bro, I still remember the year 2010, man. Like,
I don't know why, bro.
Whoa. That's tough, man.
Time moves fast. But...
No, but I do want us to kind of lead off this kind of topics conversation with just a little bit of like an introspective, almost like a history lesson of what's going on. And I would love for you to educate me as much as you can too of what's going on in Israel and in Palestine right now, that conflict in the Middle East. Because like you were saying this when you were on the Cousins podcast live show, there's a sense of responsibility that you have to the audience or to the public where educating them on these type of sensitive topics in a time where it's almost forbidden to talk about it or taboo even. It's so important because you spread the message and the right person and the right people can hear you. You know what I mean? So just talk about like kind of what's going on, a little bit of the history of like the stuff that you've researched, you and your guys too, man. Like, because that, like, if I'm not mistaken, that was the reason why you guys came out of your hiatus, right? Was to speak on that, right?
Yeah. So we were gone for about 4 years, or no, let me stop. Maybe 2.5 years. Just, you know, it was cool. I feel like we did our thing. People got busy, so, you know, whatever. But then, you know, the incident happens over there, you know, and I just feel like I don't know. I feel like there was a cry for help from that area specifically. It was like, why is nobody doing anything? Why is nobody speaking? Like, literally, they're crying for people to say, "No, just speak up for us. Never stop speaking about us. Speak, like, we need help. Like, who do we turn to?" Right? It got to the point where they're saying, like, we lost trust in humans. Like, maybe we should ask the animals. Maybe they could do more for us. You know what I mean? Like, you just gave up on humans in general, bro. Like, that is. We talked about our humanity, right? Like, in the pursuit of money, like, being the root of all evil, and you lose your humanity in the cause. Like, we are losing our humanity, bro. So to the point where it's like, the whole world is just watching, and nobody can do anything about it. To me, it's just so crazy. I can't accept that. I don't care. I cannot accept that. Nobody can tell me I can't do anything. When it's so clear, like, you know what I mean? Like, and they need so much help, right? It's just, I don't want to get too much into it, but it's just like, I don't take that. You know what I mean? So yes, of course we can do something. And a lot has been done already. So much, way more needs to be done, right? And I don't even think it needs an education course. I think we're at the point right now where it's very clear what's going on, bro. Like, it's not like the time of educating has been done. If you don't know what's going on, you didn't want to know.
You're living under a rock at this point.
You didn't want to take the time to learn it, bro, because it's as clear as possible. You know what I mean? This is colonization. This is a group of people who do not belong in that land, taking over that land and subjugating the people who've been in that land for thousands of years under their military rule, through annexing, through literally any type of oppression you can think of, whether it's ethnic cleansing, whether it's segregation, whether it's literally whatever you want to pick, it's there. Anything. It's so crazy to me because the whole world sees their darkest history happen in Palestine right now.
Yeah.
Everywhere. Whether it's South Africa and apartheid. They're looking at Palestine saying, like, this reminds us of apartheid.
Mm-hmm.
Bruh, I've seen people in Ireland saying that this reminds us of the famine that we had. That was a terrible famine that happened in Ireland.
That's the biggest thing I got from this, though, is the Irish people, how much
they
from the soccer did to the politicians.
We see our struggle in them. Yeah. Like, we're connected through oppression. If you've never been oppressed, I don't blame white people who don't know what's going on because they don't understand what oppression looks like. They've never been oppressed, right?
Right.
But if you've been oppressed, especially if you're black in this country, you know what that looks like. You know when police is abusing you, shooting you for no reason, treating you like a dog. You see that and like, I recognize this. This is the pain. We're connected through that. Whether it's people in Japan, bro, they're saying like, this reminds us what happened in Hiroshima.
Wow.
Like literally every part of the world, anywhere you go to, this reminds us of our worst part. Literally, people are saying this reminds us of the Holocaust. This reminds us of slavery. This reminds us, like, whatever you want to choose, bro. Like, it's just so clear, bro. Like, it's all happening all at one time, bro. And I'm just like, I think everybody's kind of like really cruise control. And that's not okay, bro. That is not okay. There is no regular life resuming. No, we need to solve this problem by doing whatever we can. Doesn't have to be a lot. One of the best advice I got from my friend, a lot of times we all ask, like, what can I do? What can I do? What's my part? And I ask that question every time something happens. But what can I do? What can I do? What can I do? And I just like get lost in that question. My friend just said, whatever you can do. Whatever comes your way and it's in your capability, do that. You don't have to solve every problem. But if something comes to you and if it's a fundraiser that comes your way and you hear about it, that's you doing something. Whether it's you give a lot or a little, do whatever you can do. If you can speak about it, speak about it. If you can protest, whatever you can do. So I feel like as a collective, we are not doing whatever we can do. And that is why it brought me back to this podcast, just hearing I go on TikTok I was going every single night for hours, but I was at work, sneaking on my phone, listening to people on the ground with a smile on their face, talking about their life under occupation and the act of genocide. Just saying, alhamdulillah, and just being mindful and just saying, this is what alhamdulillah, this is what we're in. And then updates every day. Like, this is what happened. We lost this many people. The occupations got further. Our resistance is fighting this way. I'm just like, yo, bro, I don't know, man. Like, it just took over my whole train of thought, bro. And I was just like, yo, I want to speak up. That's the least I can do. I have a platform that's been inactive. I want to speak up on it. So we started speaking about it, and but I just want to go back to God and be like, yo, Allah, I tried. You know what I mean? That's just the least bare minimum. Like, yo, I tried. I don't know. I didn't sit still and just let it happen. I tried. You know what I mean? So that's just where it comes from, to be honest with you, man.
It's amazing, man. That's amazing. I super salute you, man, and your team and just you guys having a voice and using that. Like, just coming out of hiatus for one thing is huge, and then coming out to speak on something as important as that is like you're saying, you're doing your part, you know what I mean? And that honestly inspired me to do more for myself too, to stop being kind of like stagnant in what's going on here and kind of like, and what you just said right now, honestly, is it's going to stick with me for a long time, honestly, bro. Like, do whatever you can, and because you get lost in the question of what can I do? What can I do?
It's almost like you defeated already.
Right.
It's defeat mindset. Like, what,
right.
But people ask like, but what can I do? They're not even what can I do, but what can I do? Like, it's a whole different question.
It's almost even an answer, right?
Yeah, it's like, it's just
that's
like,
the response.
Right, what can I, like, it's the world's like this. Like, no, bro, you can do like this. So much already has been done just by people being on social media, bro. Like, you talking about money, is it a good thing? Is social media a good thing or bad? It is whatever you use it to be. I mean, like, it is what you use it to be. I've seen a lot of good people do good things with money. Seen a lot of good people do good things with internet. Seen a lot of people do bad things with both. You know what I mean?
Right.
It is what you use it to be.
Right.
You know what I mean? So I just feel like, I don't know, man. Like, it bothers me a lot, man. But I think the beautiful thing about it is that Allah doesn't judge you by the results. He judges you by your effort.
Yeah.
So you literally just put the effort in, and you never know where the effort can go.
Right.
Because good and bad, I read a good post about this like literally yesterday. it's like I don't want to misphrase it, but it's like compound interest, bro. Like you start with a little bit, not to say interest is a bad thing. It's like you start with a little bit. If you do good, that could compound, and then you could start doing things you never thought you would be doing. But the same thing with evil. Start with a little, like that's why Allah tries to stop everything from nipping from the bud. Why a lot like Islam has a lot of strictness to it, because you really stop it from the root.
Right.
Because if you give just a little bit of breath to it, then it goes from this to like, the first time I do it, I feel bad. The second time I do it, a little bad. Third time, desensitized. And money, right? You get desensitized. You know what I mean? Just all these things come down to like the spirit of your spirituality. Like, all right, well, whatever. I'll do whatever. You lose your spirit because you just did whatever. Right? You didn't care no more, no guard. I mean, whatever. But it's just like whatever direction you go in, you can see it go very far. You know what I mean? So start with the first step. See what you can do, man. Like organize and do what you can do, bro.
That's amazing, man.
And it's the same playbook they keep on using now. Like the piece that you said, everyone can see themselves in that struggle.
Yeah.
With them using Hamas as the boogeyman.
Yeah.
This is a continued playbook that they use for other groups of people.
Yeah.
They pushed aside the Palestinian people.
Yeah.
They said war against Hamas.
Yeah.
That's who we're fighting against. That's who it's killing us. Look, it's not we want all the people saved, but we're trying to eliminate Hamas.
Yeah.
Like I read a book some years back. There's a doctor, I think his name is Zildin Abulashi. He was an OGBYN he was a Palestinian, but he said, let me try to go at least show my face in different communities. He went to go work in Israel. This is some decades back as an OGBYN too. He's an Oxford, Harvard educated guy. They ended up some time back, he built a building for his brother, his family, and his family. And I think another brother's family, so they're living on each floors. And it's well known that's his crib. And he has friends in different places that's his crib. They ended up shooting 2 rockets, killing some of his kids and some of his nieces. His daughter, because his wife died of natural causes way back, his daughter came running in, he came running in. Then he left to go ask for help from outside. They shot another rocket inside the crib. Killed his daughter that was helping him raise the family. They killed, I think, another brother. You can see on YouTube, this videos you can pull up on YouTube of him calling his friend that's on Israeli TV, live on TV, crying, saying, Ya Allah, they killed my kids, they killed my brother, Ya Allah, help me, Ya Allah, help me. And they said, oh, we thought Hamas was hiding in the basement. That brother came here, I think last thing I knew, he was working for UFT. But they said, yo, we thought, well, no, this is his crib. Oh, we thought Hamas was in the house.
That's all they said since the beginning, bro. It's just, there's no words, man. Well, there's no words, bro. Like, you know what I mean? That's crazy, man.
It's tough, man. It's a tough world we're living in, bro. And honestly, like, I saw this video on YouTube, not to kind of segue off topic, but I saw this video on YouTube of these American, ex-American military forces, right? And these guys there was like a interview style, like a panel set up, just interviewing these guys. They were all in the military. They all served in the Iraq War.
Yeah.
And what was so mind-boggling to me about that video was each one of them, this is like 20 years removed from them being in combat, but each one of them is almost condemning the reason why they went to war after the fact. They're like, we don't feel like we were fighting for peace. We don't feel like we were doing the right thing. They were talking about stories very similar to what you just said, similar stories of them getting false intel while they're in Iraq and just going to bomb random civilians and killing random civilians under the guise of, we thought Al-Qaeda was here, So it's like,
same playbook.
Yeah, same playbook, and it's like, it's almost like they're brainwashing these soldiers, and I started to think about that side of it too. It's like people going in mindlessly to go and fight for a cause they're not even sure of, or they have no real context about, and that really struck me so much, because and this is 20 years removed from what they were doing, right? All these men are now living with PTSD. They're living with regret. They're living with there's so much hardship in their brains now because of their actions.
Those effects are
and it's a long lasting. It's a life lasting effect, and it's so interesting to think about the psychology of that to me. It's like, how can somebody go ahead with some of these things that they're doing and not question it, So I find that's like stuff like that really intrigues me, like just understanding the psyche of somebody in the military, A, or B, who's like on the the side of oppression, you know? So there's so much levels to this, man. And it's great that we're having the conversations and trying to understand what's going on. I think that that's a refreshing aspect to understanding, you know, and learning the history. And I want to share one last story before, I know I've been rambling a lot, guys, my bad. But there's a friend of mine, actually, a bunch of years older than me. He's in his 50s now, I think, actually. We worked together a couple of years ago. Out of brother. And I met him on the job, but he introduced himself to me as a person from the country of Jordan, right? And it's in the Middle East, right? After working with the guy for a couple of years and, you know, having like a social media-esque friendship with the guy, I only found out after October 7th that he's actually Palestinian, you know? And yeah, he was just saying he was from Jordan all this time, but he actually is from Palestine, you know? And he was so moved by, you know, what happened in Palestine at the time and the conflict ever since then. And he's now put it on his chest almost, you know, like, I'm Palestinian. Like, he's now formed his identity around it, you know. And I felt that was so refreshing to see, because he never ever talked to me about being from Palestine ever.
It's hard.
Never talked about it.
It's hard, bro.
Yeah.
It's hard, bro.
It was just a taboo conversation to have, that he was okay with hiding his own identity, his nationality, because of the conversation aftermath, you know?
Yeah.
And it only took a horrible thing to happen for the world to understand, yo, these people are oppressed. These people are people too. These people have, they have rights that they deserve, you know? And it's just it's so insane to me that we're in this timeline right now. But alhamdulillah, like you're saying, it's getting the conversation starting and understanding and doing your part. Honestly, wallahi, that really does make a difference, you know? And as Allah is the best judge and the only judge, your actions will matter, you know? Actions will matter.
One more story before we wrap up.
Mm-hmm.
I do want to end this episode on a good note and say we are so lucky, and we are able to see how strong the Palestinian people are.
Yeah.
You know, like, I want to share a personal story. So there was a time in which I was at work, and then I'm a trainer. So one of the people whom were supposed to be in like the class that day wasn't there. I didn't know. Going on my business. I was still doing my job, whatever. Come to find out, this older Palestinian woman who was away that day, the reason she was away is because 16 of her family members were killed in the conflict. So she took the day off that day. And when I found out, my heart was shattered. And then I didn't expect to see her for 2-3 weeks. You know, you have to recoup when your whole life shattered in front of you, and your family members whom you left and wanted to go visit at one point disappear. I don't know what that does to your psyche. She comes back 2 days later. And then we're both Muslim. I spoke to her. I'm like, how are you doing? Are you doing okay? And she's like, I'm okay. I have to feed my family. I need to work.
Mhm.
And then I was like, if you need anything, let me know. So my whole point being that I don't know if there's a group of people on this planet who are stronger in faith and stronger in humanity than the Palestinian people. It's so hard to kill a group of people of once you aim a gun at them, through the barrel they see paradise. You know, like their iman is so strong. You know, like their faith in humanity and their faith in the hereafter. They know that whatever happens here, they will be rewarded in front on Judgment Day. You know, it doesn't matter what happens here, what happens there, because at the end of the day, I believe in what I believe in, and the faith that I have is so strong. I know that I will be rewarded and such, you know?
Mhm.
So I did want to share that story. I did want to close out this episode with that, because we are so lucky to see a group of people who are so strong. And like, I even to the point where I was like, these are people from heaven who are walking on our platform, you know?
That part.
So just wanted to share that.
Well said, man. I couldn't have said that any better, alive. And yo, Adele, Broski, shout out to you, man. Shout out to you for coming and bringing this energy to us, man. We needed this. We needed this to start off the new year.
Yeah.
For sure, ski. For sure, ski.
Thank you for watching another episode of the Coffee Break Podcast. Today we had a great episode. Let us know your thoughts in the comments below. Make sure to like, subscribe, comment. This is Jama,
Mukhtar.
co-host.
Slim.
And I just want to thank my brother here, Luis Merto. Am I pronouncing it correct, brother?
Yes, sir.
Go check him out on YouTube, by the way, Luis Merto.
100%.
These guys have a sick podcast, bro. More stuff on the way.
Mm-hmm.
Great stuff around the 2025 horizon for everybody. So go check him out,
Where
bro.
can we find you?
On Apple Podcasts, Spotify.
There you go.
Yeah, so it's available, pretty much on all platforms, man. I just want to say though that I was on the Coffee Break podcast and nobody offered me coffee.
Don't
worry about it. I just want y'all to know that.
You told us before.
I'm out here, 2 hands, bare open.
And he's from Ethiopia too. How dare we? How dare we? Listen, that's gonna. No, listen. Next time,
this is good. Yeah,
next time
they
he's here,
they exposed me, man.
Next time he's here,
yeah,
he needs the coffee mug with the Coffee Break podcast on it.
Kahwa House, man. We're gonna do a live episode at Kahwa House.
There we go. There we go.
I just want to say thank y'all. Y'all some good brothers, and good energy, man.
Nah,
I want to make sure that I came back and you know what I mean, like you gotta deal with people like this, bro. Like this is beautiful, man. So yeah, I wish nothing but success for y'all brothers, man. And I'm going up, moving forward.
Inshallah, man. Inshallah. Thank you, brother. Thank you, man.
All right. Take it easy. Peace.